Hello, mathematicians. Today we are going to talk about two special right triangles. And before we get to that, we need to review some algebra concepts of simplifying radicals. In algebra, we discussed that you cannot have a square root in the bottom. How did we get rid of the root 3 in the bottom? We times by root 3. And if I multiply by root 3 on bottom, I must multiply it on top. So now, root 3 times root 3, well, what happens to those square roots? They cancel each other and leave 3. And on top, 8 times root 3. You cannot do anything else with that. So get rid of that square root sign in the bottom. So here, to get rid of root 2, what will you do? Times by root 2, and on bottom, so on top, times by root 2. Root 2 times root 2 is just 2. Those square root signs cancel each other. So on top, 6 times root 2. Do not multiply those together. Now, this one has something extra that we can do. Out front, I have a 6 and below it a 2. Neither of these have the root on it. So what can I do with 6 and 2? Divide by 2 is 1. Divide by 2 is 3 root 2, or just 3 root 2. So I can simplify the whole numbers, not what's underneath the square root. So simplify to 3 over 1, or just 3 with that root 2. Try number 3 on your own. Let's see how you did. What was the first thing we had to do to rationalize this? Times by root 2, and then what did you do next? Times the top by root 2. On bottom, what do we get? 2. And on top, 5 root 2. Can we simplify 5 and 2? No, so that's our final answer. We're going to use that when we do some special right triangles. So the first one we use is 45, 45, 90. And that's talking about the angles of the triangle, 45, 45, 90. Okay? So you will notice that this is an isosceles. So since two of these angles are the same, that means their matching sides are the same. And the hypotenuse is always across from the 90. So I have two sides that are the same and the hypotenuse. The rules for this are the legs, which are the shorter sides. Those are called legs. They have the value n, which is any number. So if that is n, the hypotenuse then is n root 2. So whatever the leg is, to find the hypotenuse, you just take the leg times root 2. So if this was 5, the hypotenuse would be 5 root 2. If this was 7, the hypotenuse would be 7 root 2. So my saying I always use is just n root 2 for the three sides. n root 2, because these two sides are the same thing. So we're going to do that this time, and we're going to actually look and we're going to start labeling these pieces. Now, it's important to remember that these two ends are the sides that are opposite the 45, the legs, and n root 2 is the hypotenuse. So I'm just going to put n root 2 here. Right? And these ones are both n. So n root 2. So both of these are the same. So if this one is 8, what does this one have to be? 8. So my n is 8. I like these ones. These are super easy when they give me the side that is n. Don't get confused with another variable. It just helps us remember these two are n. This one we just have to take n. and times by root 2. So if this one is 8, this one must be 8 root 2. Same thing here, label. This one is n root 2. I don't know that yet. And these are both n. N root 2. Remember, n root 2 is always opposite the hypotenuse. So, n is 25, so this one over here must also be 25. So y is 25. My two sides have to be the same. And then how do I find this hypotenuse? What is n? We just said 25 and put the root 2 on it. Nice job. This next one's a little bit more work because, what do you notice? We don't know either of these, n, and what would this one be? N root 2. N root 2. This time I'm actually given the hypotenuse. So since this 19 is in the n root 2 spot by our rules, I need to set these equal to each other. N root 2 equals 19. I need to solve for n so I can find these two missing sides. So I'm going to divide by root 2 to get the variable alone. I'm really close, but I said we can't leave a root 2 in the bottom, so what must we do? Times by root 2 on bottom and on top. So this now will be 19 root 2 all over root 2 times root 2 is 2. So n equals 19 root 2 over 2. So both of these sides are n. So both of these have to be 19 root 2 over 2. Okay. So this one takes a little bit more work if they have it in the hypotenuse. Just know the hypotenuse is n root 2. Set those equal and solve. The next triangle is 30, 60, 90. All right. So we need to remember that the shorter leg is always opposite 30. The longer leg is always opposite 60. So the one across from 30 is the short leg. That is going to be n, some number. The side opposite from 60 is the longer leg, and that is n root 3. So that side times root 3. And the last one is the hypotenuse, which is across from 90, and that is 2n. So our rules go n root 3, 2n. n root 3, 2n. And just remember, this is the 30-degree one. This one's the one across from 60. This one is across from 90. 30, 60, 90. 30, 60, 90. n root 3, 2n. So I'm going to take some look here. If this one's 90 and this is 60, what must this be? The 30. So I'm given the 30, so I'm given the n side, and I need to label the others. n root 3 goes with the one opposite 60, and the 2n goes across from the hypotenuse. I want to see you label those pieces. n root 3, 2n. This one's nice and easy because they give us the side that's already n. So once I know n, I'm okay. Now I just need to go plug it in. For the x one, put an n here. It will be 5 root 3. And I'm also going to take this 5 now and plug it in here. 2 times 5 is 10. So if you're given the one across from 30, it's not too bad once you label n root 3, 2n. And remember, these go with 30 degrees, 60, and 90. Try the next one on your own. Let's see how you did. When you labeled it, side opposite 30 degrees is n. The one opposite from 60 is n root 3. And lastly, the one opposite 90, 2n. So, I'm given the 14 as n. So what did you do next to find x? 2 times 14. 2 times 14 is 28. And lastly, to find y, well, y is on the side that is n root 3, so what did you do? Plug 14 in, so 14 root 3. The most important piece is if you label those. The next one, if we label, the one across from the 30 is the n, so the one across from 60 is n root 3, and the one across from 90, 2n. This one's going to take a little bit more work because which side do I know? The one that goes with 2n. So do I know n yet? No. But I can make those equal to each other. Because they're in the same spot, they must be equal. Solve, n equals 16. N matches which side? X. So x must equal 16. And if n is 16, what do I have to do to find y? Plug in 16 for n. 16 root 3. So make sure you use n root 3, and 2n. Plug things into the right spot. You might need to do a little extra work to solve, and then plug back in. Nice job today, mathematicians.